I'm going to go ahead and help Michael get started here. Michael asked me earlier, my name is Ken Osborne. Michael asked me earlier if I would...
Ken,
hello, Michael.
Can you hear me? Hey, Ken.
Yes, sir.
Hey, okay, I'm so sorry. Okay, now we're good now. I apologize. I had to call back in, and we're good to go now. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we are now recording. I would like to thank everyone for joining us tonight. I know that the last week has been very difficult, and tonight, while we may share several stories, some that will be very heartfelt, all of them will be, but some may make us cry, some may make us smile, some may make us laugh. But I just want to thank you for taking the time tonight. And as I said in the letter, I would appreciate it if you do speak, and I have you on the list. What I'm going to do is I'll say who's going to speak and then who's going to speak next. So you'll have a kind of an idea of who's going to come up next. But please try to be respectful of everyone else, and just keep it to the 5 minutes or less. And I have asked Mr. Ken Osborne to open us up with a word of prayer tonight. Ken has been our chapter president here in Birmingham, and for several years, and he's worked closely with Lynn. And at this time, Ken, I'll ask you to open us up in a word of prayer, please.
Thank you. Let's join our hearts as we pray together. Father, we come here tonight grateful for the opportunity to celebrate the life of a friend and colleague, Lynn Louise Luoma Hedl. Despite the sadness that we might feel at her loss, we have a lot to be thankful for. We thank you, first of all, for the technology that allows us, despite the coronavirus, to come together and celebrate Lynn's life. We pray that as we celebrate Lynn's life tonight, that the laughter will far outweigh the tears, because we know that wherever Lynn was, there was always good times and laughter. And we pray that we will depart from this celebration determined to follow Lynn's example and be the loyal, loving friend and colleague that she was. We pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Next, I would like to ask Nancy to speak, but Emily, I don't know if you would like to say a few words. I will unmute you, or you can unmute yourself. If you would like to speak first, I definitely wanted you to have the opportunity to say a few words if you wanted to, but there's no pressure if you don't want to.
Well, I would love to say something about all of you who supported Lynn all her life. You were just amazing to her, and she lived her life so joyfully and so fully. And I regret that I didn't get to know a lot of you, but thank you for doing what you're doing. This technology, you're right, is pretty amazing. And it's always amazing to me that you guys know more about it than I do. So I'm really enjoying these times with Lynn's dear friends, and I thank you for what you're doing tonight, last night and tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily. We really appreciate that. And you being a part of this call means a lot to us as well. So just know that, and know that you and your brothers will be in our thoughts and prayers. And we have a lot of wonderful things lined up for the next few months and years. At this time, Nancy Pendergraft, I would like to ask you to please speak. And thank you so much for being here tonight, Nancy. Nancy, can you unmute yourself?
She might not know how to do it. She just learned how to do that last night.
Okay, it's *6. So it's *6, but unless you're calling in from the computer.
If I may say something, this is Jason. I know, I'm pretty sure she's calling in from her iPhone, and we were trying to show her where that unmute button was.
I found it.
Ah, there you
I had to turn the speech on. You know, this thing will jump up and announce things and stuff like that. So I turned the speech off. I thought y'all were going to mute and unmute me, but never mind. We're on.
Okay.
So if it gets disruptive with speech, I'll turn that off again and then deal with it later. Okay. So Lynn first came to our school. Yep, it's going to do it right now. Now, Lynn first came to our school in the 10th grade. And we have 4 of our classmates listening or participating tonight. I mean, I don't know about speaking, but listening, and that's participating too. So, and when Lynn was in high school, boy, she was a crackerjack pianist. She could play, now, she played classical music primarily, and she played Rachmaninoff's Prelude in G minor, and that darn thing is hard. I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna have some chops or not play it. And she played Malagueña. Wow. Anyway, and she was with our class and all of our class doings. We kind of lost and our families got connected at that time, you know, and our senior
Okay, he's
time,
gonna
all of our families got to meet each other. And boy, I had the best time with Henry, Lynn's stepdad. I played the piano and he sang. Oh my God, that man knew a barrel of songs. Anyway, and then we kind of lost touch during college. I mean, I don't know. We just were not, I guess we were each doing our college things respectively. But we got, and when I graduated from graduate school, we got connected when I came back to Alabama. And of course, we've been close in touch ever since. And I started working at rehab. And then Lynn was working as a medical transcriber. But in 83 or 4, and I don't hold me to years, she had a car accident or she was in a car accident, and she broke her arm, and she never played the piano after that. And she also was not into medical transcription after that. Uh, and but in most cases, if bad things happen, there can be a gift in it. She went to the University of Arkansas, where I had gone, and got her degree in rehab teaching also, and came back and worked at the VA for years and years. Lynn was like a honeybee. She just pollinated with ideas and friendships. So many friends that I've got now are because if she came up to visit me and she knew somebody in Huntsville, she's going to call them up and invite them over. And it was that way in all of our groups too. She had so many varied interests that we were tied together with. And when I came to Birmingham, I'd go to play for the veterans. We were together with our churches. And, you know, she'd go to my church and we'd sing, and I'd go to hers and I'd sing. The last time I went to St. Andrews, I sang in the choir with them. And then, of course, after we played in each other's weddings, you know, both, I sang in hers and she sang in mine, and I played for hers. And after she retired, we traveled together. We went to New York City and had a wonderful visit back in October. We went on a jazz cruise together. I mean, and of course, we went to our first ACB convention in 81, and Lynn and Gilly and me. And oh my Lord, we got sort of to be well known as those partying Alabama girls. And one of the things that illustrates a lot how Lynn was is something that happened just maybe yesterday. Emily posted some pictures. Emily's Lynn's sister, I guess y'all were on and heard her introduced. She posted some pictures and a post on Facebook. And I don't know at the people who, I mean, there must have been, I don't know, 30 or 40 posts in response to that. They were from the Magic City Chorale where she sang, from some harp friends who loved her. Actually, Cynthia Douglas, her harp teacher, and I don't know if there were any veterans that her family was there, Aunt Betty, and a bunch of us just through all walks of life and interests that were on there. And I thought, well, that was just kind of a mini celebration of Lynn's life. And I just don't, we manage what we have to manage, but I don't nearly know how we're going to do without her. Anyway, thank you
Nancy,
for the
you
opportunity to talk.
No, thank you. And Nancy, you were so wonderful to her, and I know that you and Roland, y'all have missed her greatly, and she was there for you so much over the last few years. But thank you for sharing that with us. I really appreciate that. And I know you've got many.
Say. She didn't
Yes,
come. She came. She and another friend came. Well, I think Debbie might be on here. Came all the way up here and stayed the weekend so that they could visit with Roland when he was in the hospital and had been for months. And just, she's comfort so many people, and Lord, partied and had joy with so many people. And
she lived life to the fullest, didn't she? She sure did.
Actually, I'm convinced that Lynn lived life to the fullest, and I believe that she died in a way that was just open to the next opportunity, I think.
And do you mind sharing one special thing about Thursday, as hard of a day as that was? Do you mind sharing with some people that may not know what Thursday was?
Oh, Thursday, I mentioned that we played and sang in each other's weddings, and on Thursday, oh man, my tangle's tongued. On April the 9th of 94, Lynn and Bill were married, and on April the 9th this year, she went to join him.
Yes. So it's such a special story, and I appreciate you so much, Nancy. Thank you for everything that you were to Lynn and to all of your friends, all of us that know you. Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing that story. I know you've got many more stories that over the months and years you'll be sharing with us, so thank you so much.
I swear, y'all, I will shut up, but she was the president.
No, it's okay.
She was a founding member of Friends in Art. I wanted you to know that for sure. And she was the current president. And I can't possibly just tell all what I've got to say, but that'll do for right now. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Nancy. And at the end, if there's time permitting, you feel free to chime back in, okay? We're going to move from Nancy to Mr. David Trott. He's got an announcement. He's going to speak. And then after Nancy, Judy Jackson, you're going to be on deck.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, before I make the announcement, I want to tell you, Lynn always talked about coming to alumni every year, and unfortunately, the veterans group she worked with, alumni, was at the same time, and she'd have to speak every year. But one year she said, I want to come over to y'all's get-together. Rhonda and I have a hot dog supper the night before alumni starts every year. And she was able to come one year. And we got to doing different things together through ACB and through the telephone, because Lynn was so talented in so many ways. You could ask her technology questions. She was really not just an artist, but just had a wide knowledge of art. And we had decided that every year we was going to stay over at what we used to call mid-year and visit museums. And unfortunately, this year was our first year. And we had actually planned to stay extra days next year. And Rhonda and I missed that. But anyway, before I had to let y'all go, the Alabama Council of the Blind, I talked to Michael just over the weekend. Rhonda and I are going to head up setting up an angel for Lynn, and we're hoping our friends in Art will join us because she was a great member of both groups. And if you need to know how you can participate individually or as a group, if you would just shoot me or Rhonda an email, then, you know, we want to have this ready for the 2021 convention. We don't want to push it for this year because this year is going to be so different. But I'm sorry I'm so choked up. This with Lynn really bothers me and Rhonda. And then we had another friend pass away this afternoon. So it's really been difficult. And just think about the angel, but more or less think about Lynn being an angel because she really was. She was just a wonderful person. And we're really going to miss her. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, David. I sure appreciate that. Judy Jackson, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Loud and clear.
Hi, hi everyone, and hi, Emily. You know, Billy Graham used to say, when people tell you that I'm dead and gone, that's not right. I've just changed addresses. And so, Emily, for you and for those of us who got to know Lynn for a little while or for a long while, she's not gone. She's just changed addresses. And so, you know, that address is an address that all of us can have. And so I'd always known about Lynn. I'd always known who she was, but I didn't know her until a couple of years ago. One of the really neat things that have happened since Rhonda has taken over the tours is she plans a really neat thing at the beginning of every convention. Something, you know, it's been a boat cruise, it's been other things, but there's some dinner involved, and so the neat thing about that is that it gives you time to get to know people. And so we were at the table and Lynn was there, and I'd known about Lynn and I'd known about the harp, that she'd played the harp, and I was a very brand new harp student at the time. So I had a very selfish and perhaps certainly to make me sound a little better and look a little better, I'd like to call it a vested interest in speaking with her, because I wanted to know. I had a harp teacher and she'd never taught a student who was blind before. And so I didn't know anything about the harp other than it had a stringed instrument and it was beautiful. And I thought if I had ever had a chance of becoming an angel, it would be because I could learn to play the harp. David, don't laugh. So I had a real interest in getting to know Lynn. And so we did, and we had some wonderful conversations about the harp. And then when I was finishing up my master's in rehab teaching, I did it at a VA. And so of course we talked about the VA and what blind rehab centers, had to offer, and, what a excuse me, what a great place the VA was to work and how much she had enjoyed it. And, we just melded. We didn't get a chance to talk a lot, but we had talked about that we were gonna rent harp, or I was gonna rent a harp. I don't know what she was gonna do, but anyway, we were gonna do some harp duets together. We were gonna, really spend some time at convention really playing. And I said, well, I've got, a lot to learn from you. And I was so excited to get to do that. But as I said in my post on leadership, we'll be having to save that time in heaven, and then she'll even be a bigger master at the harp. So again, I'll come in and be her her mentee. But Emily, your family obviously comes from excellent stock. Certainly in talking to you just these few minutes, I can hear reflections of Lynn, and and I just thank you for getting on this call with us, and it was absolutely my pleasure to get to know your sister as my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much
Judy.
for that, Judy. Thank you.
Yes, what a wonderful story, and just how many lives she touched. It's countless. Jason Castingway, we're going to come to you, and then we're going to Ron Garrett. You'll be next, sir. Jason?
Thank you, Michael. I got to know Lynn just a little bit when I first met her in 2000 at my first ACB convention. And I enjoyed the music, I enjoyed Friends in Art, but I couldn't always attend convention. I wasn't always in touch with everybody at Friends in Art, which is too bad, really. But more recently, probably in the past 6 or so years, I started attending convention more regularly and staying connected with Friends in Art in between. And it was in these last, I'd say 4 years in particular, maybe 4 or 5 anyway, that I really started to get to know Lynn and talk with her more. And she was also one who helped inspire my interest in the harp. And so in June this year, it'll actually be my 2nd year of harp lessons. And we had fun sharing song ideas and just some of the things we were going through with the harp. And I think one of the funny moments that I think is that Lynn would, well, she just had a way of keeping the information flowing. It was like there was always something that she would point out, like, oh, did you hear about this, or did you check that out, or oh, I have someone you might really enjoy talking to. And one of the things she would do is tune into a show that I produce every week on ACB Radio Interactive. And the funny part is that she'd be tuned in, and sometimes I'd have a piece that wasn't very well tagged. I didn't know exactly, like I knew the composer maybe, but I didn't know what the piece was called. And so I'd kind of make up something based on the information that was there, and then she'd send me a message. No, that's not right. This is The Harmonious Blacksmith by blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, great, okay, I've been corrected. so I had fun. I had fun with that because Lynn just seemed to know just all these things that you really didn't expect to come from her. She'd be like, oh yeah, I this is that, and I know this because I remember from my music history, and there were just little bits of knowledge that you'd glean from her, and it was just so wonderful. And within the past couple of conventions, I got to hang out with her a whole lot, and a whole lot of other wonderful Friends in Art folks. And she'd bring some of her own food items. She prepared she had these peanut butter crackers that she put together herself somehow, and they were just so good. And I think one of the things that I'll say now that I didn't get to say yesterday is that wherever she was, you just wanted to be there. And I'm just so glad that I had those opportunities. One of the last opportunities I had was back in February at the leadership meetings for ACB. We all, a bunch of us went out to dinner, and she came as well. And we had a grand old time. And yes, wine was included. So, Lynn, thank you so much for all those wonderful times. And I'm so thrilled that we're all here to remember all these wonderful things. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason. And so those words mean so much, and you're so right. She just lived life to the fullest, and I know that as we ate dinner in D.C., and you were there that night, she just wanted to try a little bit of everything, and that's one thing I appreciate about Lynn is how she was willing to try new things and to explore. She is very independent.
Yes.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, Mr. Garrett, we're going to go to you, sir, and then John McCann, you'll be next, sir. And she's going to mute you. Or could you hit *6 to unmute, Mr. Garrett? If they're not there, we'll go to John McCann. Are you there with us? Oh, Mr. Garrett?
I'm unmuted.
Okay, thank you. If you'll tell us a little bit, thank you for sharing with us tonight.
I come from a unique perspective of many of you tonight. I started teaching at the Alabama School of the Blind in 1967. And Lynn was in my first class that I taught. So we mentioned earlier that 4 of them are on tonight, but I want to share the members of that class. They were Charles Anderson, of course, Nancy Pendergraft, Charlotte Jeffries, Lynn Hedl, Don Sims, Carlton Pendergraft, Nancy's husband, Frank Tompkins, and Linda Partridge. When I look back at that class, it was kind of a simple class called Word Vocabulary. The class was very bright from top to bottom. They were very talented, good musicians, good athletes, good all-round students, and we had lots and lots of stimulating conversations, did a lot of writing, but also talked a lot about current events, music, athletics, and the events of the day. This is sort of during the time that integration was beginning to unfold in the South. And I have fond memories of those days. Lynn, I believe Nancy is the youngest graduate to ever graduate from the school at age 16. I always remember her for her kind of a dry wit, her entertaining way, her commitment to what she did, and then I always remember her sweet husband, Bill. As someone has already mentioned, I'm sure she will be playing the harp for those of us who go to heaven, and I know that we all will. But she will be truly missed in the blind community of not only Alabama, but throughout the nation. And Lynn is one of those people that everybody has a fond memory about. We can't say that about everybody we know, but we certainly can with Lynn. I will be 75 years old in a couple of months, and in my wildest imagination, I never dreamed that I would be so blessed to hang out with my former students.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett. We've been so blessed that how much you've loved us and how good you've been to us and to the Institute and to our community. We're so blessed to have you. Is there anything else you want to say?
I think that's enough.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Garrett. Appreciate it.
I look forward to hearing everybody else's remarks.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, John McCann, we're going to go to you, sir. And then Joe and Ellen Sorensen, you'll be next. I'll come to you. Mr. McCann?
Okay, thank you very much. Sure.
Right.
Someone want to say something?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. We can hear you fine. Yes, sir.
Okay. I didn't know Lynn quite as well as many of the people on this call, and Emily, my heart and sincerest prayers go out to you and your family. I only knew Lynn when I started going to conventions on a regular basis as during my child's minority and on even through college. I elected not to have any real presence in ACB at the national level. so I could spend time with my daughter during that time. And so it was in the first convention that I went to since the early 90s was in 2011. And my memory of Lynn was that she did a great parody. I never realized what a talented parody writer she was. And this is especially noted by the Bits folks. She did a parody to the tune of My Favorite Things, with my favorite tech things. And I got such a great chuckle out of it. And made it a point to meet her afterwards, and being a big supporter of FIA, I would always make it a point to see her at all, and did participate in a few FIA showcases. That's my major memories of Lynn. But ironically enough, and it had to be 2 days, no more than 3 before her passing, which is why it shocked me so, that we were on one of Zoom calls, as so many of us are now, given the COVID-19 crisis. And she had become aware of the fact that in February, I'd formed a new bluegrass band out here in Tucson, of all places. You wouldn't think that's a hotbed of bluegrass, and it's not. So we're a big fish in a very small market of bluegrass. But we actually finished an album in February, and I had forgotten to specifically mention it to her, but she got wind of it, and she was like, "You've got to get that to me. I want a copy. I want to promote. I want to listen to it." She had respect for all sorts of artistic endeavors, and it just never occurred to me that sending her an autographed personal copy would be rendered moot by subsequent events. So again, my most heartfelt prayers to the family and to all who knew her.
Thank you so much, John. I truly appreciate that. You know, her legacy is going to live on for many years to come through music, through technology, and just the impact that she had on so many lives. So thank you. So Joe and Ellen Sorson, y'all be next, please.
Yeah, go ahead, babe.
Am I?
Yeah, you're
yes, sir. We
go
hear
ahead.
you fine.
Okay.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. This is Joe Sorensen, and here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. But anyway, Lynn, I always did the auditions, and which is really great. And the last convention in Rochester, New York, we always before had to wait until we got the call whether we were on or not. And I did the poem. It's my signature poem called Microphone. And she said, "You will be on. You don't have to wait anymore." And that was so great. And she did all the auditions. And I'm just drafting now a little poem in my head. Lynn, the harp with a heart. Lynn, yes, you are an angel in heaven, singing and shouting and playing the harp, leading the way. You have changed addresses, and we look forward to seeing you in the heavenly kingdom someday. Lynn, you're in.
Thank you. And Ellen, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I do. I also remember that, that convention, and she always has such a nice ball of energy, and we're all gonna miss that, And I remember going to that same and that whole, we went into that room, and unfortunately we had a rather scary incident, but now all turned out okay there. But still, it worked out really well. She was a master of organization. I thought that was really great. I mean, I couldn't have done better if I tried, but it was great. Just she had that thing just organized just right and I'm glad I didn't perform that year, because with having the stage and the stairs on both ends like that, and it just probably wouldn't have worked the way that did. So but unfortunately it was cold in that performing room, but that's okay. but she's going to be missed. And so
Yes.
I just wanted to let you guys know that there's going to be a void missing. And when we do all come together again, there'll be one person missing, but she'll be there in spirit. So
Thank you so much. Thank
we
you.
have to remember that.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you to you and to Joe. Thank you so much. Gilly Presley, you're next, and then Mike Tyndall, you'll be on deck after her.
And thanks, Michael, for helping me out there.
Absolutely. If you'll just mute or just be really quiet if you want to have you patched in, okay? So thank y'all.
Yeah, the only other noise around here is the heater. I can't help that.
I heard that. Thank you. Okay. All right. Gilly, are you with us? You may have to press *6 to unmute.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Good. We hear you loud and clear. Thank you, Gilly. Go ahead.
Yes. I first met Lynn when we attended the School for the Blind in Talladega. Later on, we both took jobs in Tuscaloosa, and we visited a lot then. She often walked to work. She worked at Bryce while she was living here in Tuscaloosa, and she would regale us at dinner parties with stories about the people she met along the way during these early morning walks. She told us about athletes and their wives and professors, and often homeless people that she met that would walk a while with her and talk to her. In 1981, and I'm glad Nancy remembered the year, I couldn't remember the year, Lynn persuaded many of us to attend the first ACB convention we'd ever attended in St. Louis. She rounded up 8 friends, and we got a driver and a van, and we drove from Birmingham to St. Louis. As soon as we got there and checked into the hotel and got in our room, Lynn grabbed her cane and she said, "I'll see you. I'm going to see what's going on." And she was telling the truth. She left us and only returned to sleep, and she would deign to share an early morning cup of coffee with us in the room. And from then on, she was gone. I kept in touch with her over the years, but became close to her again when she retired, and we started visiting over the phone and doing various things. She was very good with technology and could teach people anything, and I have been dragged into the technology world kicking and screaming. When I wanted to learn something new, I would call Lynn and she would say, "This is a technology visit, not just an over-the-phone call." So she would come to visit me. She taught me how to set up the Victor stream. Don't laugh. I know it's easy for most of you, but for me it wasn't. And then she talked me into getting an Alexa tap. We ordered it, and she came for another visit and helped me set it up. One funny story I have about technology for Lynn is that I guess second to the last time I talked with her, she told me that during the pandemic she was spending the time reading and learning new skills to use on her iPhone with the apps, and so she was working on Instacart. So she told me she had placed an order. She'd ordered some ginger ale and a bag of apples. And when the order arrived, her ginger ale was there and 1 apple, not a bag. Lynn told me this laughingly, and she said she guessed she had more practice to do with technology. I never knew of Lynn to meet a person she couldn't befriend. After a little while, when they talked to her, she would, if asked, she would offer advice and help to any way she could. I'm glad that I had the privilege to call her friend during the time we knew each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Gilly. What wonderful stories. And that's one thing
Mike,
yes.
Can I say something about her Instacart order?
Absolutely, yes.
Which I think is really funny. She called me and she said, I ordered garlic from Instacart and I ordered 8 of them. She thought she was ordering 8 cloves, but she got 8 bulbs of garlic.
Oh.
She said, "What do I do with those?" So she froze them. They were in her freezer. Some of them are in her freezer, but
that?
she made roasted garlic. I thought that was really cute for her.
I love it.
She was adorable. So, all right, I'm going to
That's
mute
so
myself
good.
again.
Hey,
So.
well, but Emily, please chime in at any time. Thank you so much. That was so good. And one thing I appreciate, everybody that knew Lynn knew how independent she was. So I can so see her like getting her cane and just being gone, and them hardly ever seeing her, because she was just, she loved to explore. She loved to learn what was around in the environment. So what great stories. Thank you, Gilly. That was wonderful. So Mike,
That was
we're
great,
going to come
Gilly.
to
Thank
you.
you.
It was, and then so Mike Tyndall, you're next, and then Sandra Sermons, you're on. You'll be after Mike.
Thank you so much, Michael. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Michael, and thank all of you for everybody, all of us here tonight to remember Lynn. This has really been a difficult time for me. I remember probably 7-8 years ago, I went to Birmingham and I went to the VA to demonstrate some technology. And it was there where I met Lynn, and we became friends, and then we often talked on the phone about technology, about music, about art. And I remember the last convention that Bill was at, I was able to visit quite a bit that convention with Lynn and Bill, and unfortunate for me that I didn't get to know Bill better, but I really got a lot closer to Lynn after Bill passed away, and we would talk several times and every few weeks about, as all of you have said, technology, music, writing, poetry, just all the technology devices and technology apps. And, one thing that Lynn always loved was her Sonos devices. And, we talked about the Sonos Beam, and she told me I have this new machine and this new Sonos device. And she, another thing that I remember is that one year we had some wine, and she was telling me how that was Bill's favorite wine, and we had some together in Bill's honor. I remember that. And then, several times when I would go to Birmingham, oftentimes I was able to go and stay at Lynn's house. I was going to be there for a couple of days for work. And it was always fun. We always went out to dinner, and, we sat around and listened to all kinds of music. And she, Lynn had this way of making everybody comfortable. One thing that she knew about me is that I like coffee, and so and chocolate. And so she always gave me healthy chocolate, of course, because, healthy chocolate's better because it's healthy.
Yeah.
And she knew that I liked the Intensio Virtuo line of coffee for the machine. And so that coffee was too strong for her, but she ordered a couple sleeves of that coffee just for me so that when I was there, I could have it. And, as many of us talked about last night, she had such a talent to, be able to take people's strengths and weaknesses and kind of melt everybody together and make showcases and make things work. And this past summer, I was able to participate more in ACB convention than I typically could because of work obligations. But this last summer, I was able to actually audition and sing on the showcase. And I was trying to decide who I wanted to sing with me, and I was trying to figure out, do I want to be a male? Do I want to be a female? Do I want to sing by myself? What do I want to do? And I said, Lynn, you can learn the song and sing it. It's a pretty easy Southern gospel song. And so Lynn and I rehearsed it a couple times, and we sang it on the showcase last summer. And my friend Kenneth Reed was there, and he recorded that. And immediately after the showcase was over, he sent me that recording, and oftentimes I listen to it and I think of Lynn and how beautiful she was harmonizing on that song. And, it's several weeks ago, we have continued to talk. And just last week we talked, and, never did I realize for a second that would be the last time that I would talk to her. But last Thursday evening, Ann Martin called me and told me the sad news that Lynn had passed away, and I just still can't believe it. But one last thing I want to just quickly say is to all of us on the phone, you know, we never know when something like this may happen to someone that we love, and we all should always cherish every moment that we have with someone, because I promise you that when I talked to Lynn last week, I never thought for 1 second that would be my last time.
Yes, absolutely. And Mike, she thought a lot of you. She talked so much about you, and she'd always say, if I don't call Mike, he's gonna get all over me. And there's some precious stories and memories you just shared with us.
Thanks so much, Michael.
You were a good friend to her. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sandra, we're going to come to you, and then Rick Moran, you're going to be next, sir. So, Sandra.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Loud and clear.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Emily, I can't imagine what you're going through right now, but my heartfelt condolences go out to you and the rest of Lynn's family. I can't echo more what was already said. Lynn was a huge technology buff. I mean, Victor reader streams are fairly straightforward, but for whatever reason, I just could not get the hang of mine. And in less than an hour, she taught me how to use mine, okay? But I knew Lynn primarily because of Janice and Nancy. I got to know them, like I said, I got to know Lynn and Nancy because of Janice. And once Janice introduced us, you know, we would hang out intermittently, but maybe 5 years ago, we started really getting close, and somehow or other, we started a tradition. When Lynn was here for the legislative seminar, I took her to, my friends were here from Brazil, and I took her to their house for an authentic Brazilian meal. And she loved that. She was just so, I mean, tickled pink because, you know, she loves good food. And so after that, every year, I would have to find another restaurant to take Lynn to, because she would start asking me in like June, okay, where are we going? Where I'm coming, where are you gonna take me? And so this year I took her to Chart House, and she really enjoyed that. And, you know, always, you know, a good time was had by all. So we just breaking bread with one another and having a good time. And she said, well, you know, would you like to go to the African American Museum with David, Rhonda, and myself? Now, I couldn't believe it, because I live in Rockville, Maryland, 15 minutes away from DC. So I'm very ashamed that I hadn't been to the African American Museum more often. But truth be told, I hadn't. So she invited me, and I'm like, absolutely, you know, you don't have to ask twice. And we had a phenomenal time. There was me, Nancy, Rhonda, David, and just learning all that there was to learn, and all the things that we saw and sort of took in. And during that time, just fellowshipping with one another. You know, I never would have guessed that that would be the last time I saw Lynn, because you know, we talked. She texted me when she got back to the hotel. She texted me when she got to the airport the next morning, and she called me when she got home that evening. We made plans to meet up in Schaumburg, and she said she was going to find a good restaurant, and it would be her treat, because I treated when we went to Chart House. And I never in a million years would have ever guessed that that would be my last time talking to her, and that would, you know, she would be gone from this earth less than 2 months later. You could not have convinced me of it. I mean, and it just goes to show you that Tomorrow isn't promised. Just because you know are here one day does not mean you're going to be here the next. So it's important that you treat every day, live life to the fullest. Your friends, keep them close. Let them know how much you enjoy them as your friends, as people, whatever. But I'm just so glad that we had those times, and I'm also glad I had some voicemails from Lynn during this past legislative seminar, and I was gonna delete them, but I just didn't get around to doing it, and I am so very glad that I never did, because now I can keep them. I never would have known that that would have been my last time actually hearing Lynn's voice. And I don't know. I would have come undone, I think, if I had actually deleted those voicemails and never had access to them again. So I know that, Lynn isn't gone. She just changed addresses. But I also know that now she's in the same address as our dear friend Janice. And what I said, I will say what I said before, which, was I asked Lynn, I know she was up there in heaven. And I said, look, Lynn, just do me a favor and tell Janice I said hi, and that while she may be gone, she is not forgotten. Thanks, you guys.
Hey, thank you, Sandra. Such wonderful stories, and I have no doubt that it will be a wonderful feast whenever you meet again. And if we had been able to go to Schaumburg, she would have picked a wonderful restaurant, because she had a tendency to find wonderful restaurants, and
she
I just
already
love the
had
way
it. She had chosen it. She actually
see, I believe.
she texted and
I
said
love it.
she had already had a few in mind.
Oh my goodness, that's wonderful. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing, Sandra.
You're
We really
welcome.
appreciate it. Thank you. Rick, we're coming to you next, and then it'll be Penny Moss, and then Michael Byington, you and your wife, Ann, will be after Penny. So, Rick, if you will.
Sure, Michael. Thank you so much for doing this, Michael. And
yes, sir. Thank you.
I'm not real good at this, so let me see what I can do with it. But Lynn obviously was friends to everybody on this phone, and but she had to be blessed to have everybody on this phone as friends for her as well. So thank you, everybody, for sharing. I got to know Lynn through the convention. I have the pleasure and pain sometimes of being in charge of audiovisual for the convention, and got to work with Lynn quite a bit to put together the FIA. And she was, I mean, she definitely knew what she wanted, and she wanted what she wanted, but was, it was just so kind about everything she did. And the thing that I appreciate the most out of Lynn, I just want to thank Lynn for saying thank you to me for, what we did. She just showed such genuine appreciation and love that I was really touched. Now, I'm a chocolate fanatic. And of course, she said, well, you did so good, Rick, we're going to give you a lifetime supply of chocolate. So I'm going to miss the chocolate. But this year, we were all looking forward to Schaumburg, and I saw Lynn at leadership. And, we talked a little bit about Schaumburg and how that FIA was going to be special in Schaumburg, and how we both were looking forward to it. But this year we get to do it virtually, and several of us, myself included, Debbie and Jason and Jeff Bishop and a bunch of other people, are going to be working on this virtual convention. And I just got so excited about the prospect of what FIA would become under Lynn's leadership virtually. It just seemed like it was such a wide open creative landscape that we all knew that she would just do a beautiful, beautiful job with. You know, she just had put together this show Art Parlor on ACB Radio, which we are all thrilled about, and we're sure that it will continue in her honor. So, you know, Lynn, the little time I had with you, I wish I had more time. But thank you so much for being you. Thanks for the chocolate, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, Lynn.
Amen. Thank you, Rick. Thank you. Okay, Penny Moss, you are next, ma'am.
Yes. My name is
We can
Penny
hear
Moss.
you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Penny, we hear you fine. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Okay, good. I wasn't involved with Lynn on FIA or some of the music things, but I was involved with her as I knew her as a consummate professional, a colleague, and most of all, friend. I met Lynn, well, I knew of her through my friend Ann Martin, who had met her in an ACB conference in Greenville, North Carolina, I think in '95. And I knew the name, but I didn't know her. When I came to Birmingham in 2002, I started working at the VR office in the old OASIS program, which is the older blind program in Alabama. And at one of we have quarterly meetings of all the rehab teachers, and I met at the first meeting Nancy Pendergraph, and we went to lunch, and she told me, I come down here a lot and to see my friend Lynn Hedl and her husband Bill, and I'll be coming and I'll have to tell her about you. So, you know, I didn't think much of it because I really didn't know that many people, and I thought, well, you know, she might talk to Lynn and she might not, or Lynn might call and might not. I just sort of went along, but I didn't have to wait very long. A couple of days after that meeting, my phone rang in my office, and this pleasant voice said, "Hi, my name is Lynn Hedl, and I want to welcome you to Birmingham." And that really meant a lot to me because I didn't know that many people here. I had my sister-in-law's family lived here, and of course I had grown up with Pam Coffey, but I didn't know anybody else. And so we got to talking, and she said, "Bill, and I want you to come hang out with us." And I thought, you know, here's this person that doesn't know me hardly at all, and she's asking me to her home. Well, it truly wasn't very long before we became really good friends, and I hung out at her house, and we laughed, and we talked, and we ate, and we watched football. And we both were Alabama fans, so that was good. We had that in common. And she worked at the VA, and my dad had macular degeneration, and we were my family and I were trying to get him to go to the VA blind program. And so when she found that out, she arranged a wonderful tour for him and my sister to come through the program. And he eventually went through the program and got a whole lot out of it. But it was Lynn that made him feel so welcome there. And, you know, our friendship continued. I had to move to Talladega for 5 years to take a different position because my supervisor retired. And she was real sad that I needed to move. And I got to stay with her one time, and she and Bill just laughed and laughed because I was so excited to get to go to Applebee's because there wasn't one in Talladega, and they took me to Applebee's and I stayed with them, and that was really funny. But what I remember most about her is her friendship, her wonderful sense of humor, she was the kind of friend you could call and say, "Hey, you want to go eat?" She'd say, "Yeah." And I know that, you know, I spoke at Bill's funeral, and I shared the same story that I just shared with you all about how she welcomed me into the community. And when I came back to Birmingham, she was really excited that I was back, and she called me and welcomed me back to Birmingham. And, "Hey, you want to come to my retirement party?" which I did. And then a month later, Bill passed away. I watched her closely after that, and she really handled widowhood with so much grace and so much decorum. She really never complained about being alone and about grieving. I know that she grieved for Bill and that she missed him, but she had so many interests that she just kept right on living. And one story I particularly want to share with you all is a couple of years ago, on Easter, I decided to take her out to Jim and Nick's because I knew that day might be hard for her not having Bill. And so I did. I took her out. We had steaks and we had a wonderful time. And after we parted, she told me she loved me. And I got home and my sister-in-law had been rushed to the emergency room. She was battling cancer. And Lynn was so supportive, and she was supportive when my sister-in-law died a couple of weeks later. And in the last year of her life, we would go out to dinner several times. She'd get her driver, and Leanne Brooks and Lynn and I would go out and party. And we would laugh, and she'd always introduce some kind of zany song that we hadn't heard. And, the last time I was with her, we went out to dinner with the Osborns, and Charlotte and Ken and I never dreamed that would be our last visit with her.
Yes.
And what I remember, and I just got one more sentence, Michael. What I remember is her friendship, her willingness to help others, and her unselfishness. She would call me and say, "Do you need anything at Publix?" And even though I never did, just the fact she would call meant a lot. And these are things I will miss about her.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, Penny. I sure appreciate it. And it's funny you mentioned Charlotte because she's going to be on after the Michael and Ann Byington. So, Michael, you're next.
Okay. Am I unmuted?
Yes, sir. We can hear you fine.
All right. Excellent. I met Lynn in 1985, which was the first year that I got involved with FIA. And as Nancy said, she was a charter member and always involved in the leadership of FIA. And I can't really say that I got to know Lynn very well, even though we were in a lot of things together until the last 4 years or so ago. But I'd been on and off of the FIA board a couple of times. I was vice president once, but hadn't been on the board for quite a while. And Lynn called me and explained that Arlo Monte, who had been a longtime treasurer of FIA, had a stroke and was in the process of going through rehab. Fortunately, he is back with a lot of his skills again and so on, but they needed somebody else to take over the treasury. And Lynn didn't ask me to do it. She said, we've decided that you need to be treasurer of FIA. And Lynn could say that sort of a thing and make it a compliment and make it something that you just wanted to do it. And believe me, I never knew that I wanted to be treasurer of FIA. But Lynn was so helpful as president and so supportive. And with an organization like FIA, we have to talk together a lot. And I don't think that a week has gone by in the last 4 years that I haven't been on the phone with Lynn at least once about something. And it was just an absolute pleasure. But I will talk about something that Lynn and I had in common, and John McCann alluded to it in his comments. Lynn and I both enjoyed, she probably still writing them in heaven, enjoy writing parody songs. And we both have done quite a few parody songs for FIA. And the one that I remember the most is a different one than John mentioned. One year, she sang Santa Baby, only she was singing about all of the assistive technology that she wanted Santa to bring her.
Oh, yeah.
It was a very hilarious piece. But it just so happened there was a fellow attending the convention, and I don't think he normally attends, but he was a big kind of rotund guy with a white beard that went down almost to his belt. And I said to him, "Oh my goodness, you look like Santa Claus, and we've got somebody at the FIA showcase singing about you." And he said, "Well, you know, Christmas season, I play Santa Claus. I do that. That's a part-time job I have." Well, I had the chance to introduce him to Lynn. And Lynn said, "Oh, I want you to be on the stage with me when I sing this song." And he was kind of reluctant, but he said, "Well, okay, sure, I play Santa Claus. I can get up and play Santa Claus here, although I don't have my suit." She said, "Well, Santa Claus doesn't wear that kind of a suit in the summer anyway. That's all right." So he sat on the stage, and now, folks, Lynn became a really close friend of mine, and she was a very attractive lady, but I don't suppose in many contexts people would think of Lynn as seductive. But that night singing that song, Lynn climbed all over that chap sitting there on the stage and was the sexiest distraction that I'm sure Santa Claus has ever had. And
oh my heavens, I hope somebody has a video of this.
Oh, I don't think they do, but it was a wonderful, wonderful addition. And the people with a little bit of sight in the audience absolutely loved the visual aspect of Lynn's performance as well as the audio. Lynn was an actress when she wanted to be.
Love it.
And that was great. And just one more comment from me, and then I'll see if my wife wants to say something, because they became good friends too. But Lynn, when she would be talking with me about something that we needed to do or that I needed to be aware of as treasurer, she would always end the call with, "Okay, now it's time for you to go have a glass of wine." That was always something I appreciated. Lynn and I have enjoyed a good bit of wine together at ACB conventions when working together so constantly. Did you have something, Ann?
Just real briefly. One year, Lynn wasn't able to come to the convention, and Nancy wasn't either. And Michael and I got the distinct honor / duty / scary pleasure of designing and hosting a showcase. And I don't know, I really didn't ever ask Lynn what she really thought of the showcase that year, but she would have been kind and sweet about it, I'm sure, even though it wasn't the best showcase in the world.
She was very supportive. I talked to her about it.
I never didn't spend as much time with her as Michael did, because I try not to compete with him when we're doing ACB stuff, and he's by far the better entertainer of the two of us. And I was always the backup accompanist or so. But we are going to miss Lynn, and she was, I wish I had the ability to explore and do all the fun things that she did during her life, because she did live it to the fullest, and we will miss her. Thank you.
I don't know who needed to pour themselves a glass of wine while we were talking, but it was a wonderful sound effect I heard in the background. Thank you.
That was
Thank y'all
Lynn's
so much.
sister.
No, actually, it was. I've got some people in. Okay, so thank you so much. I appreciate that. Charlotte, you're going to be next, and then Jeanette Kutash. I hope I'm saying that properly. You'll be next after Charlotte.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Charlotte.
Emily, I want you to know that we are thinking very much of you and your family, each and every one of your family members. I know that it's very hard.
Thank you. Thank you
Yet
so
at
much.
Oh, you are so welcome. At the same time, I think about Lynn. You know, when you think about her being in heaven, she's got to be having an awesome time. Because you're right, everybody's right. She lived her life to the fullest. And I remember meeting Lynn when she came to the School for the Blind, and I was maybe in the 7th grade or 8th grade, I'm not really sure. But I was really happy to meet her, and then she would, come and talk to me sometimes, or just come and call and ask me to, come and visit with her for a little while. And I could hardly believe that she would want to spend time with me, because she seemed so advanced, and I really never had any idea that she was so young, that she was only 16 when she graduated. But she has been an awesome friend through the years to me and to Ken, and she has just meant so much to our ACB group. But she would call sometimes, and she and Ken would start talking about ACB, but then she'd flip over and start asking me what I was reading and tell me she had found so-and-so book, and I should read this, and we were always, swapping ideas back and forth about books. And then in January, I lost my middle brother to cancer, and just over a week after that, we lost our first grandson. And you don't expect to lose your grandson when he's 19. And it was devastating for us. But Lynn called, and she wanted us to get together or do something, and then she decided that maybe we should just get together and go out to eat. Well, then it started raining. And it rained, and it rained, and it rained, and every time we tried to set a date, it rained. So finally, they came up with the date of March 12th, and it was a beautiful day, and she and Jan and Penny came and got Ken and me, and we went and ate lunch at the Cracker Barrel, and it was just so nice. We just sat around and talked and ordered, and they let us share. They wanted us to share if we felt like sharing about our grandson. And, sometimes it's a relief to have friends to share with. And she was just such a good friend, and it meant so much to us. And we did share, but we shared some funny things too, and we just had a wonderful time together. And before we knew it, it was time to leave, and the time had just flown. We couldn't believe how quickly it was over. And just like everybody has said, we never would have guessed that would be the last time that we saw Lynn. But we did talk to her after that, and she was just encouraging, and she just always let you know, I'm here, and it really meant so much to us, and we're really going to miss her so much. She has just, I remember when we first found out that she was joining on our ACB chapter, and it was just, I was just thrilled that she was joining, and she's done a wonderful job, and we've just enjoyed her here so much, and we're going to miss her so very much. And Emily, we'll be thinking about you and your family, and I think she told me that you had 2 children, and so we just wish all of y'all the best, and know that we're praying for y'all, and God bless everybody in this group. We got a lot of good friends here, and we appreciate all of you. Michael,
Thank
thank
you,
you
Charlotte.
so much.
Oh, we love you guys, and Ken, we'll come back to you in just a little bit, sir. I know you've got a few words to share too. And Charlotte, one thing you kind of touched on is that she was in the moment. When you were with Lynn, you knew you had her attention, and she cared, and it wasn't all about her. She wanted to know about you, and
I know, and she was deeply caring.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Charlotte. I sure appreciate it. We're going to go to Jeanette, and then Bill Adams. You will be next, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Unlike most of you, I've really only known Lynn for 3 weeks. I got an email that listed some of the ACB events, and I saw Fia, and I had gone to my first ACB convention last year, but didn't really know how to do things and didn't schedule some things right. And I was curious about Friends in Art then, but just didn't know what to do. So I got on the call. And my first impression of Lynn then was that she was very welcoming and very joyful. She provided me with a different way of thinking about considering the art of being artful, and was accepting of everyone's talents. The second thing was when I got on the second call, I just happened to say something, and she said, well, if you really want to do that, we'll tag you for that. I hadn't even joined Friends in Art yet, but I had promised her that I would by the time we met next, and I will keep that promise because I was very intrigued. She was accepting in another way. She was having trouble finding a file she needed to add some email addresses. And I had my computer up and running because I was doing some other stuff. And I said, Lynn, I can take the names and email addresses and send them to you if that would help. And without batting an eyelash, she said, oh, if you could, that would be great. I think in my mind, I knew something was wrong when by Friday I didn't see her send out the list. But it didn't hit home to me until Saturday morning when I was on a chat with some friends of mine locally in Massachusetts. And then when they said, well, you never know whether people are dying of COVID or whether they're dying because it was their time, like Lynn Hedl. And I stopped and I said, you mean Lynn Hedl and Friends in Art? And the person said, yeah. I said, I spoke to her on Monday. She can't be dead. And he said, well, it's all over the leadership list. And I said, well, most of us don't get that list. So he was kind enough to forward me that and then forward me about this call. But I think what I appreciated most about her, in addition to all of that, was her willingness to share. She played her harp and was just in a great frame of mind in telling us how much that meant to her and how important it was for her to share. And all I know about harps is most of them are huge and you cannot carry them around. And I never got to ask her how big her harp was, but she played it well and left me with an impression that I won't forget.
Lynn had about 5 harps, but she had the big one that you can't carry around.
My time with her was short, but it was well spent. And I thank you all for allowing me to share my thoughts and impressions. And I'm sorry for her family. Loss is never easy, whether you expect it or whether you don't. But I hope you find comfort in the people who loved her.
Thank you so much, Jeanette. Thank you.
Can I say something real quick? It's Ellen. I just wanted to say, that's how I found out, how we found out that Lynn was the leadership. I was just going through the email and I found it, and so otherwise I had no clue. But anyway.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. it just still feels like it's just still a total shock. It really is. Okay, Bill Adams, we're going to come to you, and then Pam Coffey, you'll be next after Bill.
So, hi guys. So I only met Lynn back in 2011. It was my first day of work, being moved up from the basement to the blind rehab center, and you know, I had friends in the past, you know, that knew Lynn and things like that, but you know, like she was one of the first people to, you know, introduce herself. And oh, you're from Ohio? Oh, my husband's from Ohio. His name is Bill too, and all this other stuff. And we ended up going to, him and I actually went to the same school, all this other stuff. So it was like, oh wow, we have this great connection. Oh, you used to be an intern at ACB, right? Well, you got to come to our chapter. No, you're coming to our chapter meeting. So, you know, like the one person said, you know, Lynn kind of tells you what to do, how to do, you know, what you're going to do, and you're more than happy to do it. So, you know, she was always that way. You know, I guess one really funny story is we were remaking a old What to Do When You Meet Somebody Who is Blind video, and she was being one of the actresses in it, and she completely ad-libbed a line, which was probably the only good joke in there. So, and it threw the other lady totally off. She's like, but you know, so that was, you know, of course, Lynn. And you know, when I told her I'd taken another job, she was like, finally. So, you know, she was always there. She always pushed me to do different things, and she was always such a help. I mean, after Bill passed, she gave me one of their embossers, and I mean, I use it almost every day. You know, the last time I saw her was actually with Miss Gilly, because just as like somebody else said, as soon as she knows she's coming somewhere, she's going to invite everybody else that she knows, and we're all going to get together. And so that was the last time I saw her. I was actually supposed to see her one more time, but we were in an accident and weren't able to see her, and couldn't believe that I don't ever get to see her again. That's really sad. So, Emily, I'm so sorry for your family's loss, and you know.
Thank you, Bill. And I tell you, you helped so many people with technology, just as Lynn did. And I know that y'all worked closely on several different projects. And thank you for everything that you do. And thank you for helping to carry on Lynn's legacy through helping with technology. And thank you again for putting together the slideshow and the pictures for her family and for us. And I appreciate everything that you do, Bill.
Do you want me to put it back up?
You can, but Angela's really having to do the hosting stuff, you know. So
Okay.
here in just a little bit, I may do that. Okay.
Okay.
We will definitely put that on the ACB website and our Facebook page. ALCB. I've got to get in a better habit of doing that. So our Alabama page, we definitely will put up. We'll put it up. Okay. So thank you, Bill. Pam Coffey, if you can hit *6 to unmute.
I'm already unmuted. I
All
hope you
right,
can
thank
hear
you.
me.
Absolutely, Pam.
I have one of those voices that is, let's just say, loud. First of all, Emily, I remember meeting you at Bill's funeral, Bill's service, and my heart goes out to all of your family, all of y'all, and what a loss! What a treasure!
Thank you.
What a treasure! I first met Lynn in May of 1975, so we go a long way back. I was brand new for what they called an evaluation. I don't even know if they still do that at what is now Gentry. I was looking for a job, having no luck, and so someone suggested I go there. And I did. And I felt like a misfit because I was a college graduate. I was a recent graduate. And a lot of the people that were there, a lot of the students, not only had not graduated from college, a lot of them had not graduated from high school. Some of them had, their education was interrupted in childhood. So I was so overjoyed. I think I'd been there 2 or 3 days, and this beautiful young woman, just slightly older than me, a couple of years older, befriended me. We found out we had a lot in common, and that sort of started it. And we got it. We eventually rented apartments across the hall from each other there in Talladega. And then when I came back home and came back to Birmingham, and she went to work elsewhere, we lost contact. And it was only in probably '03 that we reconnected. That would be way too long a story for me to share tonight. But what I do want to share is a funny memory. And I think one person on this call, maybe 2 people on this call, will remember this as well. Fast forward to 2012. September of 2012, I was having one of those, what some people called landmark birthdays. You know, one of those that ends in 0, and the first number is way more than 2. So a whole bunch of friends and I were celebrating that birthday. And we celebrated for the whole weekend. I can't even tell you where all we went, but we went everywhere, all over the place, did this, did that, hung around at each other's places and all that. So Saturday morning, we had run some errands and gone a few places and had lunch I think we had lunch that day at Applebee's, and we were going to go to a concert, little show that night up at a little place in Springville called Local Color. Unfortunately, it's no longer there. But in the meantime, we go to Lynn's house. Now, Lynn was the technology guru if there ever was one. I was brand new to the computer. I did not really know what I was doing. So we had been talking about putting together not so much playlists of albums. I wasn't doing that yet. And this was before Apple Music. This was before the subscription service. So I had not bought anything on iTunes, but I had put together a sort of a playlist of radio stations that were available on a Mac in what was then called iTunes Radio. And so that Saturday when we went to her house, she said, "Pam, I need you to show me how you do that playlist." And I'm thinking, there's something wrong with this picture. You're the guru. I don't know what I'm doing. You're asking me to show you how to do the playlist. So I thought, well, okay, I'll tell her how I do it. But so we go to her house, and I said, "Where do you want us to work?" Because she's got her laptop. I don't know if I had my laptop with me. I'm not sure I did, but she would definitely have hers. So she said, "Oh, let's do it at the dining table." So we're sitting at the dining table, and she goes back in another room. Now, I didn't know every room in her house. So she's in another room, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. And so Lynn comes back in and said, I'm still looking for my laptop. And I thought, oh, this is getting funnier by the minute. So before I knew it, here she comes, not with her laptop, but with the most gargantuan birthday cake you've ever seen in your life.
Oh goodness.
I'm not telling how many candles were on it, but we had so much fun that day, and that just sort of gives you an idea of what Lynn was like. And Jason, if you're still there, I was once a fly speck on the wall when she rescued you. It wasn't that day. It wasn't a piece that was mislabeled. It was a composer. So
oh boy.
yes, it was. I don't remember who your label said it was, but Lynn called and said, no, it's not so and so. I think Debussy or something. She says, no, it's Edvard Grieg.
Yes, I think I remember that.
And I was sitting right there, and a whole bunch of us were sitting right there in our room, just getting tickled because we could all identify with, all right, I know that piece. What in the dickens is it?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. That was great. All right, Rod Anderson, we're going to go to you next, and Debbie Hazelton, you'll be on deck next. And I apologize, Debbie, I'm not 100% sure that you want to speak, but if you want to speak, I've got you slotted for after Rod, okay? All right, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, this is Rod Anderson. I met Lynn in '98. It was my first trip down to Birmingham. I was at the VA there, and she was teaching. I was blinded in Vietnam in '66, and took my first training in Palo Alto. But I got a chance to meet Lynn when I went to Birmingham in '98. She was such a different kind of a teacher. You never felt like you were intimidated with her. She was always in your corner, and to the point where when I came back for subsequent training on my iPhone and then a Mac computer, which I got recently, I told him, I said, if I can't have her as a teacher, I'm not coming. I'll go some other place. I don't know what to say about Lynn. When I heard that she had passed away, I didn't know where to put that. I just didn't know where to put it, because I thought if anybody was going to stay alive and be appreciated and just have to be here, it would have to be Lynn, because she was so buoyant. She just floated above everything that could have brought her down. Not that she didn't get upset about things sometimes, but it was usually just some problem with some institutional bump in the road. But with people, she was always supportive. And so I was really mystified by this. And I just want to say I was having some problems myself with my health the last part of March. It could be fairly serious. And I just became aware that each moment is precious, and remembered a teaching that I had heard one time, that the eternal present is the only reality that you will ever know. The present is always with us. And we need to appreciate the people that we're with now, right now. And it just brought me back to that Lynn lived that way. When I heard people talk about her, that she was always there and always appreciated you, and you were always in her focus. She knew how to do that. And so many of us live in the future, anticipating the future, or regretting the past, or wanting to be in the past. And she was always right there in the moment, more than anybody that I ever knew. So I'm really going to miss her. Like I said, I don't know where to put this, except to take a lesson from her, to learn how to live in the moment, appreciate and love people now, because that's the only time you'll ever have to do it.
Yes.
So thank you, Michael.
No, thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Anderson. I appreciate that. All right, Debbie
Yes,
Hazelton, we're going to come
thank
to you,
you.
and then Donovan Battelle will be next. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Yes, I had written you twice, and I wasn't sure if you had gotten it. But anyway,
I'm so sorry. And if it was an email, I really am sorry.
That's all right. I hope I have enough battery. on my phone here. But Lynn became a good friend. And when she knew I lived here, she hadn't known that I was here. And when she found out, she's like, well, I didn't know you were here. Wow, you're with us. You need to be with us, you know? And I just always felt like Lynn was so welcoming and giving and kind and fun, always ready to share and all kinds of things. We had a ton of fun. And I thought of a funny story that I had not shared last night that I thought would be great here. So Lynn also did the healthy chocolate. Rod was the one that got her into it. And they got me into it. And at one point, Lynn said, you know, I really love these love bites. They were dark chocolate little hearts. And I can't remember if they had anything else in them, but they were delicious, and they were called love bites. And so Lynn said, I know the best way to get people interested in them. I'll just make a little promo and it'll say, do you know what a love bite is? Do you want to know? Call me. And oh man, it was hysterical. And every time I would bring that up, she would just say it all over again and laugh. You want a love bite? Call me. And so, you all talk about Lynn and her wine, but I knew Lynn even more about coffee and sweets. Oh man, did she ever love all of that. So we just had a ton of fun. And Judy, what you said, it's kind of what I decided. Lynn changed her address. I feel like she's still with us. She's listening to everything. She knows everything that's going on. But I feel like she changed her address. I felt like the next day I said, it's like she moved away. She chose to relocate. But, I think she knows where she went, and she knows that she made that choice. And she wants us, to just go on. I've seen more people who are anchors who have left. And I think it's sort of a way of saying, come on, you all get together and pay even more attention to each other and do all those things with each other that I did with you all, and let me go and do what I need to do and just get on with. So I think she's up there with Bill, and she's watching out for us, though. She doesn't miss a beat. So anyway,
well, Debbie,
thank you all.
I'll say for as far as you and Jason and the whole ACB radio team, you guys are doing a great job. And Lynn was just tickled to death with the work that y'all have done over the last few months. And she just kept going on and on about what a good job y'all have done. And just thank you for continuing all of the hard work. You pour hours and passion into that. And we just thank you for everything that y'all are doing.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to have Friends in Art on there. And a lot of that is Lynn's doing, Lynn's eagerness.
Yes.
So, and thank you, Michael. We'll have to catch up more in person sometime. So,
absolutely.
So thank you.
Ma'am.
Thank you all.
Her legacy of love and of living life to the fullest lives on. It sure does.
It sure does.
Okay,
and
Donovan,
I'm wearing a sweater today, all day, that she gave me that I got from her a month ago.
Oh.
So I just wanted to be wrapped up in Lynn. So.
That's awesome.
All right.
Thank you. That's great. What a great story. Thank you so much, Debbie. We appreciate that. Okay, Donovan Bartel, you'll be next, and then Cindy Calhoun, you'll be after Donovan.
Can you hear me, Michael?
Yes, sir. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. I didn't have it unmuted there for a moment. So,
Okay.
I probably didn't know Lynn personally as deep as many people did, but I kind of have another perspective, and I really appreciate Rod, the veteran who was on here. Even though I'm not a veteran, was new to blind services and came to Gentry in 2010 and I came to teach the business enterprise program. And one of the things that was, center when I came was that the state was wanting to move more, to have vendors trained more in computers. And so my focus was that, and I was really challenged by how do you train? I'm visually impaired, but how does a visually impaired person train somebody totally blind? And so I went through teaching for a couple of years and tried to be mentored by different people. And I started getting veterans into my program, blinded veterans. And one such veteran, I'm going to mention his name, his first name, Jeffrey, came to us and for assessment to be considered to become a trainee. And assistive technology, one of the ways that we assessed is that people need to have a good base level computer skills, and if they didn't have those, maybe they could gain those through assistive technology and at Gentry. And so the instructor called me one day and said, "You have a guy here?" And I said, "Yeah, Jeffrey." And he said, "Yeah." And he said, "We've sat him down at a computer, and he's just not going to be able to do it. I mean, he said, we can work with him and try to train him, but really we need to, he doesn't type and so on and so forth." And he said, "But we're going to continue to work with him to see." Our goal was to get people to where they could do all their paperwork in Excel and it be accessible. And he was totally blind. The next day he called me back and said, "You're not going to believe this." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "This guy's killing it out here with a computer. I mean, he's just great." And I said, "What?" And "You just called me yesterday and said this guy can't do anything on a computer." And he said, "Well, we sat him at a Windows machine and he couldn't. He just could not function with a Windows machine." And he said, but he'd been through the blind rehab program in Birmingham, and he asked if we have a Mac. And he said, "Well, yeah, we got one over there. We don't normally train people on that, but we have one over there." And he said, "Do you mind?" And so they took him over there, and he said, "This guy can use keyboard, speech. He can use every functionality." And somebody taught him to do that at the Blind Rehab Center. And this guy's amazing. He probably is one of the best students we've had come through here that can use this technology. So I began to talk to him. He got in the program, and I began to talk to him about where did he receive his computer training from. And he told me Lynn Hedl. I instructed that program for 6.5 years, and I had at least a half a dozen veterans come through, to which every one of those blinded veterans could absolutely use a computer better than some people who used Windows machines. That year that Jeffrey came through was right prior, I think, to 2012, I think is when that was. Gentry was not very supportive at that time of really training blind people on Apple devices, which, we all know sort of set the accessibility standard because it became about universal design. But because of Lynn's wonderful master teaching habits, Gentry it changed their mind about what blind people could do with Apple computers. And those guys were all Android and Windows based out there. And I began to kind of realize that she was a master teacher. So I want to close. I really respected the job she did and how she was able to train veterans who Jeffrey had no computer skills hardly before when he was blinded, and she took him from cold turkey to being functional, very functional on a computer. And so I'm going to close with a quote. Nelson Mandela said, "Education is the most powerful weapon one can use to change the world." And Lynn Hedl apparently changed the world of some of these veterans' lives by allowing them to have a skill that they could use going forward. And it was a unique skill that she gave them. Thank you.
Hey, Donovan, I wanted to let you know real quick that she had many veterans that have been calling today, but also she took a 93-year-old veteran who had never touched a computer in his life and started teaching him the Mac, and the next day he had the start of what ended up being his autobiography that went to be on like a bestsellers list on Amazon.
Amazing.
Wow.
Right.
Donovan, thank you for that.
Yes.
I'm just, this is Lynn's sister, Emily. I just love that story. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
It was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for Bill and Donovan. We're going to go to Cindy Calhoun and then Mr. Frank Tompkins. You'll be after Cindy. Cindy, you're next.
Hello. I just want to say it's such an honor to be here tonight. First of all, I met Pam Coffey before I met Lynn, and she invited me to be in the ACB chapter, and I visited a couple of times, and through Lynn as well, I felt welcomed, and I knew I wanted to be in the group. And Lynn was just one of these people who she wouldn't take no for an answer, but yet she wasn't bullying people like, I'm going to get what I want no matter what I do. She knew how to step on toes in a positive manner without hurting others, although, sometimes people might have, the sighted world might have thought, well, she's a boisterous person, isn't she? Who is she to talk? And she wouldn't let go of knowledge. She wouldn't let go of independence. She wouldn't let go of friendship. And I loved Lynn's friendship. I called her last week because I was, since we've been on this COVID-19 lockdown, I've been learning BARD, B-A-R-D. And I don't have a smartphone. I have what's called a ghetto phone, as one of the ACB members called it. And so she said she has it on her phone because I wanted her to help me with some of the little glitches I was having on my laptop with Bard. But anyway, we go out on our birthdays, and Lynn and Penny and Pam took me out for my 60th birthday. It was either in January or February, and then we had a good time. But I never, and I never dreamed that last week that I would never talk to Lynn again. When I got the email, I called Michael right away, and I even called my pastor several times about it. I'm having a hard time dealing with the loss of Lynn, although I didn't know her but about a year and a half. I feel like I've known her all my life. And I would like to be able to put the music on YouTube that she did, that she sang and played the harp, because I never did get to hear her. But I just, through her, I enjoy ACB. ACB is a great group. They respect your opinions. I've been in other groups in the past where you try to ask them questions or you make suggestions and they throw your answers to the wind or the walls. And ACB is not like that. And Michael, I enjoyed talking to you Saturday about Lynn. Emily and family, I pray for you. My prayers and thoughts are with you. Emily, I want to get to know you because I've heard Lynn speak some wonderful things about you and your wonderful rum cake. And I'm on Facebook too, so but I would like to get to know a lot of more of Lynn's other friends too, and Emily. Even though you live in Jacksonville, the computer doesn't keep us from distancing one another, and it's so nice that in technology like this today, when we are on lockdown, we can't be around people, and I'm very lonely for people that we can talk on the phone. We can talk about Lynn and not let our words go in vain. And I pray that that I know she's touching everybody in heaven now, because she's as Pat Boone says, a wonderful time up there, which is a song of his. And then Pam and Lynn and I went to eat at one of the little places downtown that Lynn introduced me to. I love the place. I can't remember the name of it. It was about, I think, in 2018. And anyway, I just never thought that the last ACB meeting that I went to before all this outbreak struck, worldwide, that week, I'd never be with her again. And Lynn, I miss you. You're such an asset to everybody, and I'm glad I got to know you for the short time that I knew you. And God bless you and everybody else.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you so much. Okay, Frank Tompkins.
All right, can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir. We hear you good.
Okay.
Sir.
Emily, my sympathies to you and your family. I don't know if you remember me, but I met you many, many, many years ago, right after we graduated. Lynn and I graduated from high school. Spent a weekend with your family, and I remember that. I don't know if you remember or not, but I could probably
Well,
talk.
I'm pretty sure I remember you, Frank. Just
yeah.
I'm gonna mute now.
Okay. I had on and off over the years since high school seen Lynn, and I remember one thing I'd like to relate is because I could relate to many things, but several years ago I had heart surgery, and Bill had heart surgery too, and Lynn and Nancy called me in the hospital, and then I talked to Lynn after I got out of the hospital, but she gave me a bunch of advice about diet and stuff, and I really appreciated that. But she tried to give me a copy of a song she had done, but I never did. Something was wrong with the CD. So if anybody has that song, I would appreciate having it. But because I never got to hear her play the harp. But she told me a lot about it, and I enjoyed hearing about it. But I'm gonna be real brief because I could get into so many stories and some funny stories about and talk about, as some did, about she joined our class and was with us our last 3 years, but it seemed like she'd been there forever. We were glad to have her in our class. So to all of you and Emily, I extend my sympathy to you again. You and all y'all's family, your brothers and their families, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Frank.
you.
And I know y'all shared a special friendship, and I appreciate you joining us tonight and speaking. Ken Osborne, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to speak next, and then I'm going to double check my list to make sure I've got to everyone. If you would like
Mike,
to speak, and yes,
this is Judy. Once after Ken finishes, and then you check your list.
Yes.
I've just been thinking about something that I'd like to say, but let's do what you've got planned, and then after you check your list.
You got it. And
if that's
I was
okay,
going to
thank
ask.
you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Judy. If anyone's on this call that would like to speak, that has not spoke, if you can hit *9 to raise your hand, we'll see that, and we'll definitely recognize that. I want to be respectful of everyone and give everyone a chance to speak that has not. And I'm going to say a few words as well. But okay, I've got 2 people that have your hand up, so we definitely see you, and we'll come to you. Ken, if you don't mind, you're next.
I just want to say that it is very. I can't think of the word, but it is such a this is such a tremendous way that we have honored Lynn tonight. So many people that have spoken have talked about her independence, and by so many of us being able to get together and honor her this way, we have conquered not only we have overcome the barriers of the lack of transportation and also of COVID-19, and so it's most apropos that we are able to have this particular life celebration because Lynn was great at technology. Like Gilly, I was dragged into the computer era kicking and screaming, and many was the time that I called Lynn and needing help with things concerning my iPhone, and she always knew the answer to every question that I ever asked, and she just made it so simple. And I just thank all the veterans for their service, and I know that Rod, losing your eyesight at such a young age because of Vietnam was a tremendous loss. But if it hadn't been for that, you wouldn't have met Lynn. So it shows that God has a purpose in everything, and He has a way of turning what seemed like tragedy at the time into good. And even though we feel like we know that Lynn's loss is tragic because of the tremendous impression that she made, we can all take comfort in the fact that, like Charlotte said, as she lived life to the fullest, she's doing the same thing in heaven and having a really awesome time because she always knew how to have fun wherever she was. And so I just can't imagine how much fun she's having now, and she's enjoying complete peace and comfort and free of not only the cares of this world, but the health, any health problems. It's a perfect place where she is now, and it gives us all something to look forward to is meeting her again.
Yes.
And being with
Amen.
her. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ken. We truly appreciate you and love you. Sheila Young, you were next, and then the number ending in 6590. 6590, you'll be after Miss Sheila Young. Sheila? Sheila, you're unmuted. There you go. Are you? Sheila, if you can hit *6 to unmute yourself, if you can. And we may come. We may. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Hey, we can hear you. Yes, ma'am. Hey, Sheila.
Hi, Michael. Thank you so much for doing this. This has been awesome.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome.
Okay. I am an emotional person, but I was so honored because in DC, we do a dinner on Tuesday night. And Lynn, and thank you, David and Rhonda, because Lynn sat next to me during our dinner, and we had a lot of wine and a lot of dessert and had so much fun. And she was such a delight, and we had such a fun evening. So I know that she was very excited about her tour the next day, and she will be missed. I had not gotten an opportunity to meet her before then, but I loved our whole, I think we were there 3 hours. I don't know, but anyway, she was such a delightful woman, and I'm so sorry that I really didn't get to know her before that. So thank you, Michael, for doing this.
You're welcome, and thank you for joining us and sharing those words with us. And I know it is so tough on so many of us. Thank you. All right, 6590. You are next. If you will, please tell us your name and where you live.
Hello, it's Leanne Brooks. Can everybody hear me okay?
Hey, Leanne. Yes, ma'am.
Hey.
Very good.
It's so good to hear everybody. I hear old friends, not old as in age-wise, but old as in knowing you a long time. And I've heard people that I've heard Lynn speak of, and it's so wonderful to hear everybody, not under these circumstances, but Emily, I can't tell you how sorry I am about your sister. I lost my brother in 2015, so I know what it's like to lose a sibling, and you and your family are in my prayers. I didn't know Lynn well, but I met her when we were both going to the School for the Blind in Talladega. I was just a little girl, not little anymore, but I was just a little girl. And when I first met her, she was as Rick put it, and of course everybody has said this, she was so very kind. And she asked me if she, because I was like 6, and she asked me if she could pick me up and hold me, put me in her lap. And of course, for a little one that was away from home, I was like, sure. And she didn't remember that, but I certainly did, because I told her how much I've cherished that. Lynn and I were able to get together for meals along with Penny Moss and Lynn's driver, but more important, her friend Jan, in recent years for birthdays, and we had so much fun. But I remember Lynn being so giving of her resources. She was just one of the most giving people that I've ever met. She loved her veterans, dearly loved her veterans. And I enjoyed hearing Mr. Rod speak about his encounter with Lynn and how much she had helped him. But I'm not going to repeat a lot, because I know everybody said it all, but I love Lynn and I'll miss her. But it's good to know that I'll see her again. Everybody have a blessed evening, and I'll be praying for all of you. Thank you, Michael. Good to talk with you as well.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you so much. Okay. The number ending in 6623, and Debbie from Illinois.
This is Tabitha.
We have an echo.
Okay, hang on. Yes, and I caused that. Debbie from Illinois. If you don't mind, if you'll hang up and let my wife call you and add in another number. I've added too many people in, merged too many people in.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, I'll let her. Okay, I will certainly do that.
But I'm getting my wife to call you, and you'll be able to be merged in. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's see if that helps. Okay, Tabitha.
Sure. And
we still have an echo.
Thank you so much, Michael, for organizing this. And Emily, I know we've never met, but you and your family are in my prayers. I got to know Lynn in 2014 when I went to my first ACB convention, and like everyone else has said, she was just one of the most welcoming, kind people. We had a fun time outside of ACB when her harp group came from Birmingham to Auburn and got together with our harp group, because I also play. And it was such a fun day of music sharing. And a friend of mine, when I mentioned that Lynn had passed, and this was several years ago when they came over, remembered her fondly. And so she just touched people that she met for such a brief time. And I'll just always remember the kindness that she could show and the tact that she could have when dealing with people whose auditions for the showcase may have been questionable. Let's word it that way. But she was so tactful and kind. And her hospitality was just something that she always demonstrated. And I'll miss her and getting to talk technology with her. I didn't get to talk with her nearly as often as I would have liked. But again, she'll be missed. So thanks.
Thank you, Tabitha. I truly appreciate that. All right. Is there 42108? You're next. If you will, just let us know your name and where you're from.
Oh, okay.
Hey there. We can hear you now.
This is David Dallin. I'm a veteran, and I met Lynn in Birmingham at the Blind Rehab Center. She was very knowledgeable. She never was my instructor, but we became friends and talked about things. And the first thing she recognized, everybody mentioned that she was very much into music, is that one of my ancestors, John Dallin, was a famous composer in the 15th century, and that was just right off the bat she picked it up. And I saw her and Bill several times, and Shelley and Floyd were veterans, and Shelley was an instructor, and we always got together when I came to Birmingham to the alumni every year. I went one year, I'll tell how much Bill loved her. I went to the alumni meeting one year, and I won a door prize of a beautiful necklace. And, all the ladies wanted me to give it to them right away. They wanted that necklace. And so I traveled for a couple of weeks and went to the ACB convention, and I didn't want to leave that necklace in my room, and so I put it in my fanny pack, and Lynn was serving wine at the FIA function of wine and cheese, and I says, Lynn, I've got something you want to see. She says, what? And I says, here, I'll show you. And she reached her hand down into that, and she squealed real loud, and Bill came over just immediately. He was there and wanted to know what was going on. But he really loved her, and she loved him, and they were a wonderful couple, and I'll miss Lynn very much. And I'm a member of the veterans of ACB, and I'd like to talk to any of the veterans that would like to call me. My name's on the veterans page, and I'd like to talk to you. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I know that there's so many veterans, and it's so good to have the ones on here because she touched so many lives at the VA there and continue to do so in her retirement. So the next one will be 0333, I believe.
Michael?
Yes.
Michael, it's Linda Partridge.
Yeah. Hey, Linda, are you 0333? Just want to make sure.
I am, yes.
Okay, thank you, Linda, for speaking. Thank you.
First of all, I want to give my sincerest condolences to Emily. Emily, I've heard your name since Lynn and I graduated from high school together. I'd like to take you guys back. I don't want to speak long because I'm kind of choked up here. There was 8 in our senior class, 4 girls and 4 boys. And the last year, they built this new home economics building, and it had 3 bedrooms for the girls to stay over in and train. Lynn and Nancy roomed together, and there was a bathroom, and I was in the next room, and then across the hall was Charlotte. And, you know, being in the blind school, we were all just sincerely close, like brothers and sisters. I mean, it was awesome. We did everything together. We did outings together. We did a senior trip. Lynn was in my wedding to Charles Anderton, who was in the class, and Nancy played in the wedding, and it was, I think everyone was there except maybe one person out of our class, and it was just a weekend affair. We actually made the Selma Times because it was a big blind wedding, you know. And I've seen Lynn a lot of times over the years, and you guys have been talking about her liking to go out to eat. I'll tell you one instance. We were, I believe it was Las Vegas, and we went to a buffet. Well, Lynn loved peel and eat shrimp better than anybody I've ever seen. So we kind of finished our dinner, and we sat there. Everybody at the table was peeling shrimp for Lynn. and it was great. It's just a memory I'll never forget. And I want you guys to pray for Emily and pray for Nancy, because they were sincerely close. Lynn would come to Nancy's, and we'd all talk on the phone. And I know Lynn wasn't a quiet person, but there was an elegance about her, and she was strong. And I remember, I know Emily, she loved you. I heard your name so many times, and the last time was Emily. Lynn was coming to your birthday party or your birthday. So I've heard so many things that's really touched me. And I know Lynn's in a better place. I'm sure she's busy up there. Okay, guys, I'm going to hang off now. Thank you.
Linda. Thank you so much. Okay, Debbie Watson from Chicago, Illinois. You're next. Hang on just 1 second, Debbie. We're trying to get you unmuted because we patched you in on another number. So glad we were able to get you.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Debbie, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. I only met Lynn at a national convention. I wish I had known her better. I truly do, but I loved her. I really did. She was one of the nicest women I've ever met. She was funny. She was intelligent. She was warm. She was welcoming, and she made you feel at ease right away. I really, really enjoyed her company. I just wish I had had the chance to get to know her better. She was going to marry someone whom I knew, Bill Hedl. I believe she was going to be married to him, and I had known him, and that was one way that I got to know Lynn, especially, and spent a lot of time with her, during the convention. But as I said, she was so warm and friendly, and her death is such a tragedy. I know the organization will miss her. I didn't know her real well, but Mike, I will miss her very, very, very much. And she was just, as I said, warm, welcoming, fun, friendly, and I pray truly, I'm sure she's in a better place and at peace and probably busy or doing whatever service she can up there. Thank you for letting me speak a little. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Last Thursday, heaven definitely gained a wonderful angel. Okay, at this time, there's no hands up. Judy, we're going to come back to you. I'm just going to say this. We'll close up in about 15 minutes. Judy, I'm going to let you speak, and then Nancy, I was going to ask if you want to say another story, and then Emma, if you want to say anything, and I was going to close this out with just a few short words and a quick prayer. But Judy, if you will, at this time, I'll let you speak.
Listen, I will even relinquish my time to Nancy and Emily if they certainly have things to say. And if there's time for me at the very, very end, that's fine. But I'll give my time to Nancy and Emily.
Hey, this is
tell your
I've
story.
been listening in the whole time. I'd like to have
Oh, absolutely. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mark, and I apologize. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's all right. I got here a little bit late because the news is so bad. We've been watching music TV, and WC's Reverie came on, and that was one of Lynn's favorite songs. She used to play it so beautifully. Tried to even teach it to me, so I had to listen to it to the end, so we were a little late checking in. But anyway, if you get a chance to read what I wrote yesterday, I said Lynn never saw anything, but she heard everything. And so when she was still up at Talladega, our mother, Maida, and stepfather Henry went out and bought a baby grand piano and set it up in the living room in the front of the house so Lynn could practice all the time. And she'd be in there playing just, as loud as could be. And my brother Chris and I would take turns sneaking in the room to get under the piano. And she'd stop and say, "Who's that?" I mean, we couldn't get past her at all. So, I am to say something sad here real quick. Our youngest sister, Jan, passed away 9 years ago now. And she had a very interesting opening when she called you on the phone. And, I was in the military in the Navy for many years. And so I wouldn't sometimes see anybody in the family for like 2 or 3 years sometimes. But, every once in a while she'd call. And instead of saying, "Hello, how are you?" say, "Hey."
Yes.
That's a great word. And so, that's a great opening. And I noticed that Lynn started doing that. I don't know if she always did it, but the last few times I've talked to her, every time we get on the phone, she says, "Hey." So I don't know if she picked it up.
Many times.
But to put it in a musical context, you know, there's some great songs that start out with the word "hey," like "Hey Joe," "Hey Jude," "Hey Baba Reba," "Hey Now," and "Hey Good Looking."
Yes.
You know, and that "hey" was always a challenge, which told me that yeah, I'm ready for fun. Let's go. And that's the way Jan was, and that's the way Lynn was. And you know, well, I'll miss both. And I was a big fan of the Ken Burns country music special. I hope all of y'all got to see that. And I remember the Roseanne Cash getting the turn singing her dad's song. And yeah, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and I'm gonna say I still miss someone.
Yes.
That's all I got.
Hey, thank you, Mark. We're so sorry for
And
your loss, and you had a sweet and precious sister.
And thanks to everybody for sharing. It's been really, really illuminating because there's a lot of things that we don't know that we've learned, and which makes it even more sometimes of a tragedy, but it's a celebration. And
Absolutely.
I'll give you another thing from Ken Burns, which absolutely tore me up, and that's Ben Skill. So I mean, go live high up on that mountain. And if you ever saw that,
yes,
you never understand.
We're so sorry, and I just know that we are recording this, and we will definitely get the entire recording to you, okay, and to all of your family.
Okay, that's great. And
thank you for speaking up, Mark.
All right.
If there's anything else you'd like to say, please do.
Oh, no.
Anything else you'd like to share?
No, it's a little too hard.
All right, yes, sir. I understand. Thank you for being here. Emily, you want to say anything?
Well, I'm gonna post Lynn's obituary that Mark did a beautiful job writing. It was just beautiful. I'm still waiting to hear from my brother Chris, and then we're gonna post it on Facebook, and we give you permission to post it wherever you want to post it with your group, ACB, Friends in Art, whatever. Just to let everybody know kind of her beginnings. You all know her endings, but I can't tell you how much this has meant to me listening to all of your stories tonight and last night. And I'm so glad that all of you loved her as much as I loved her, because I loved her so much, and I'm going to miss her so much. And I thank you for all of this.
Thank you for joining us tonight, Emily. We really appreciate you being with us and sharing a wonderful sister with us and a friend. And I know that y'all talked all the time, and she loved every time she'd come back from Jacksonville, she always had wonderful stories, I tell you. Judy, do you want to speak just real quick, and I'll wrap this thing up? And Cindy, out of respect for everyone's time, if you don't mind, I'm going to I haven't spoke yet, and I know that it's 10:30 Eastern time, so we need to be respectful of that. But Judy, if you would like to share one more story, that would be fine.
Just not even a story, but I'm just sitting here, been for the last whatever we've been 2.5 hours, and I'm just thinking, I wonder how many of us got to tell Lynn, all the wonderful things that she meant to us. And so if we did or if we didn't, no harm, no foul. But from this day forward, because as many people have said, time is so short, and we don't know. We're not promised the next breath. And so let's just take tonight, and I think in Lynn's honor, let's make sure that the people, even the ones that are hard to love, even the ones that are difficult to be around, let's make sure that we find something positive, and let's take Lynn's example and make sure that we edify those people that we come in contact with, and make sure that they know while they're on this earth, make sure that they have an opportunity to hear our words, and that they're, that we're not sitting around a virtual funeral telephone call talking about them. Let's make sure that what we say when they're gone, they heard when they were alive. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Judy. I just smiled as I thought I can hear her now. Hey, I'm up here playing the harp and eating chocolate. I'm good. Y'all go and live life to the fullest. Let me just say that Lynn touched so many lives, whether it was through technology or music or her friendship, just being in the moment with you, trying new restaurants, trying new foods. Lynn had a way of touching our hearts, and I'm so thankful for that. I'm thankful for the time, whether we got to know her for a few weeks or for many, many years. We've been blessed. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. I'm going to close this out in a word of prayer. And if anyone wants to stay on and talk, we'll unmute everyone, and y'all feel free to stay on. We'll end the recording, but y'all feel free to stay on in fellowship. But thank you. Thank you all. We've had over 50 callers tonight, and it's just been wonderful. And I know while I said 2 hours, I'm glad that we went longer. And I know that the stories are going to carry on for years and years to come, because she had that kind of impact on us. If you don't mind, join me in a word of prayer, and I'll close this out. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day that you've given us, Lord, the opportunity to come together and share precious memories and stories about our dear friend, our loved one, Lynn. I thank you for the life that she lived and for the lives that she touched. We know that her legacy will carry on for many years. I just pray that we not take one day, 1 minute for granted, and we live life to the fullest, just as Lynn did. I just pray that you will allow us to carry her light forward, to carry on the tradition that she carried on of showing your love and living life to the fullest. Lord, we thank you so much for all the organizations and all of the people and all of her friendship and all of her love. And I just know that we're going to give you all of the praise and all of the glory. And Lynn, we miss you and we love you. And we will be with you again one day, hopefully soon. Thank you all. Thank you, Jesus, for all that you've given us. Thank you for the time that we've had with her and for all of the blessings. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right, Angela, if you will, unmute everyone. I'd like to thank my wife, Angela. She was wonderful. She sat at the computer and helped moderate this thing. Thank you so much.
This was amazing. This was great.
It was great.
Thank you.
It was
Thank y'all. It really was
Thank
great.
you.
Yes.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all for being here.
Thank you, Michael and Angela.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you very much.
Y'all are more than welcome. Lynn,
Thank you, Michael, for putting this together.
You're more than welcome.
Yes, we do appreciate it.
We all appreciate it. We do. Thank you, Michael and Angela.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you,
And thank
everyone.
all of y'all.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, I just